In a quiet rural town on the edge of nowhere lived a man named Ethan, his wife Lavra, and their 10-year-old son Ben. Times were tough. Their small patch of farmland barely produced anything after years of drought, and whatever they grew was barely enough to eat. The house was old. Furniture was secondhand. Their cookware was scratched, dented, and barely usable. But they managed, day by day. One morning, Ethan walked to the local flea market to find a new cooking pot. He had just enough cash to maybe get something better than the broken one they had. After digging through piles of old tools and rusted pans, he found a copper pot. It was used, yes, but sturdy, and better than anything they owned. He paid the vendor and took it home. When Lara saw it, she sighed. Another used thing. Can't remember the last time we bought something new. But she set her complaints aside and took the pot to the kitchen. As she placed it over the stove, a voice echoed out, "Please don't put me on the fire." Startled, she dropped the lid and backed away. "Ethan, come here." He rushed in, and she explained, breathless. "The pot, it talked." He didn't believe her. "You must be exhausted." But when he picked up the pot and placed it on the stove himself, the voice came again. "Please, I beg you, don't put me on the fire." Both stood frozen. Ethan said, "Who's talking?" The pot replied, "Me, the pot." Ethan frowned. "What kind of joke is this?" The pot answered, "I was once a man. I dedicated my life to helping people. But I was curse-trapped in this pot until someone more generous than I ever was owns me and keeps me safe for 1 full year." Ethan shook his head. "That's insane. We don't have money. I bought you with the last of it, and we can't even cook with you now?" The pot said calmly, "You won't need to. Just tell me what meal you want. It'll appear." Skeptical, Lara crossed her arms. "Fine, let's see if you're lying. I want roast chicken, with mashed potatoes and gravy." A second later, the kitchen table was filled with steaming dishes, more than they'd ever seen at once. Ben walked in, saw the feast, and froze. Did someone win the lottery? They laughed, and Ethan explained everything. Ben promised not to tell a soul. Days turned into weeks. They ate well, but didn't get greedy. They quietly shared food with struggling neighbors, never saying where it came from. People started noticing. How come they suddenly have so much food? Weren't they broke last month? One day, a nosy and greedy man from town, Martin, pulled Ben aside. "Where's all that food coming from, kid? Tell me, and I'll give you $20. You can get whatever candy or toys you want." Ben hesitated. His parents didn't have much money for extras. He figured it was no big deal and told Martin about the pot. Not long after, while the family was out tending the land, Martin broke into their home and stole it. When they returned and saw the pot missing, their hearts sank. "No one would take that old pot unless they knew what it was," Ethan said. Ben, ashamed, confessed what happened. But instead of yelling, Ethan and Lara stayed calm and started planning. The next day, Ben ran into Martin and said innocently, "You know, my parents have another pot. A better one. That one makes gold instead of food." Martin's eyes lit up. "Really? Your parents are idiots not to sell it. I'll trade you back your old one for the gold pot." Ben brought him a rusty, useless pot from their garage. The swap was made. Back home, they locked the real copper pot away, determined to protect it until the year was up. Martin, of course, realized too late that he'd been duped by a kid. Time passed, quietly, modestly, until exactly 1 year from the day they bought the pot, something unexpected happened. While Ethan, Lara, and Ben were sitting at the table, The copper pot began to glow faintly. Not magical, not blinding, just ... warm. And then came a voice, not from inside it, but from behind them. A man stood there. Not ancient, not glowing, just ... normal. Dressed in a long coat, carrying a weathered satchel. He looked like he'd been walking for miles. "You kept your word," he said with a smile. "You didn't just use me, you helped others. That's rare." They were speechless. "Before I was cursed, I set aside something. A safety net, you might say." He placed the satchel on the table and opened it. Inside was a bundle of cash. Real, crisp, enough to change their lives, but not so much as to ruin them. "This is yours, for your honesty, for your kindness, for not letting greed take over." And with that, he tipped his hat and walked out the door. They never saw him again, but they didn't need to. From then on, Ethan, Lavra, and Ben lived simply, generously, and always remembered that the real treasure wasn't the pot or the money, but the choices they made when no one was watching.